if you get it down right, like you're a freaking samurai. You can dodge all of the incoming bullets, all of the incoming throwing knives, just to get up close to your opponent, and then decapitate them, slash them in half, whatever you need to do to take them out. It's realistic. Welcome to New Game Plus. This is a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name is Kenny.
Nolan.
And this is episode 380.
Yeah, 380.
And in just a few hours, boys, look at me, eyes, all right?
Okay, eyes.
In just a few hours, I get on a plane and I fly to Austin, Texas to spend a week recording with the both of yous for our second annual couch co-op event.
I didn't
You're coming here?
Okay. I'll cancel my flight right
now.
now. Both of y'all are going
Wait. Wait, we have an official name
We're
for
so
this
excited.
Yes, so officially, we are coining this annual, right? I mean, we're doing this annually?
Of course.
Annual event.
Maybe twice.
Maybe biannually. Which could either mean every 2 years or it could mean
or
twice
every
a year.
other year.
No, that's every 2 years. Okay, this is our annual event where I travel to be with the boys. We set up a little studio that may or may not be someone's living room or little closet room, and we do multiple live streams, record tons of content together. This has been tons of fun. We kind of just had this wasn't really a fully planned out one, but over New Year's I came and visited Nolan and we recorded a little bit there.
Yeah, that's true.
That wasn't our annual event. This is.
No.
And we are so looking forward to it. Some of our planned activities include...
Well, we're doing
awesome live streams,
like you said, but Kenny, you wanted to take that one? Okay, you talk about the live streams.
Of course I want to talk about the live streams. They're my favorite part. Okay. Like, pre-recorded content's great, but like live content where we're interacting with the community and getting feedback and talking and playing games together and just like talking retro stuff is way more fun than anything else. So they're my highlight for sure.
The live stream is actually how we're beginning this thing because on Tuesday, May 30th, and we can talk about it more, but we're doing a live stream. Top 10 controller buttons.
Which is going to be a great conversation.
Very specific.
I'm really looking forward to that one. I wish we had like a PowerPoint thing we could do for that.
I mean, we still
don't let your memes be dreams.
It's too much work. We need
the story of this podcast.
We need a producer, a live studio. Okay. Something else that you can look forward to for Couch Co-op is elements potentially. We've talked about that other piece of content that we started and it was great and we stopped for why?
We can't keep making excuses for it. I think someone relatively new came into our Discord this week and said, I heard a year ago on an episode someone say something about bringing back these special episodes.
Yeah.
And it's a meme in our community now because all of our other people were like, what's elements? What are you talking about? They're acting also like...
They acted like they were crazy and they were like,
we all don't know what it is. It's really good.
So funny.
We are also going to be... Now, we haven't talked about the specifics of this, but we are going to record a retro game store haul competition. There are a few retro game stores around your city, and so we were going to set a financial limit. Each of us were going to go separately into the store, see who can come out with the best haul based on the amount of money that we were each given, and then share it with you, our community. Yeah, and you vote on who the winner is.
Yeah. Yes, and we will try to find some hidden gems. Maybe one of our hauls will be one game, like a grail or something that we find.
Just one sick.
Maybe one's gonna have 5 GBA titles that are just super solid. It'll be so much fun. That'll be a really fun in-person one that's outside of the scope of a camera and a studio.
We are also just going to record tons of content together. We're going to record social pieces. We're going to record our episode together. Like next episode, we're going to be in the same room recording together.
We'll live up to the name of the whole thing and do some couch co-op, play some games together, let you guys get a sneak peek at how that looks.
Yeah, so all of this begins with the launch of our summer pool party. We've been doing this for a lot of years now. We are launching our summer pool party next week. So at the end of the next episode, we'll be pulling from a much smaller list of games. So today, actually, at the release of this episode on our Patreon, a post will be or has been released with all of the details that you need. And we are kicking it off in a very big way.
This is really big for us. And it's big for you, actually. If some of you that have been listening for a while for free, great. It's going to continue to be that way. Yeah. But, we talk about patrons a lot. We have a lot of benefits for them. What if I told you that you, with no money in your pocket, could become a patron of New Game Plus?
How?
For a limited time. Patreon has a free trial feature now, and we're going to open that up for our listeners for this week, for this Patreon pool to kick it off. Don't worry, patrons that pay us and have been paying us. You're still going to get to be the exclusive set in the rest of the pool party, but this first one's going to be an exciting one.
Yeah. So for the first time ever, we are, for the next 7 days, providing a totally, completely, entirely, unconditionally free trial of our $5 patron tier. So you can be a part of the first Patreon pool of the summer pool party. This means that everyone and anyone can hop on for the low cost of nothing.
Where do they need to go,
We're also giving you... Well, I mean... It's summer pool party. They need to go to the store, buy themselves a pair of swim trunks if they don't have them.
That's the first thing.
Get some floaties and something to drink, and then they can go check out patreon.com for more details.
The craziest thing out of all of this is that we are giving away something as a part of this to one of our patrons.
Another big deal, yes.
This is insane. Too much.
We have a giveaway, and we have a really sick prize. Should I reveal right now?
Let's just tease.
No, I should
and then
reveal.
They can tune in for couch co-op content.
Okay, maybe.
All right, we're teasing.
It's a tease, but
we got to give away. It's gonna be a cool one.
This is something many of you may want to add to your library,
to your collection.
Collection, and I ain't talking books.
Remember, the fun begins on Tuesday, May 30th with a live stream on our YouTube channel. So that's 1 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. for those of you in the UK. If you're in Cali, that's 11 a.m. And if you're in Colorado, Mountain Time, it's high noon. Like in our retro game of the week, Samurai Western.
Overview.
Samurai Western, don't do the whistle this time, was developed by Acquire, and it was published by Atlas in 2005 for the PlayStation 2. This is an action-adventure game with some arcade-ish stuff thrown in there, I would say, and I can explain later. Acquire, that's somebody. You said that is somebody important to Square now?
Well, yeah, so Acquire didn't ring... it rang a bell, but I didn't know which bell until I did a little bit of research. Yeah. Acquire, they are the same developers as the Tenchu series, which is pretty big, and we've got all of those games on our Retro Master list. But also
Tenchu?
Yeah, they're the ones that partnered with Square to provide us with Octopath Traveler, a game that could have been good.
I didn't realize they did Tenchu. That makes sense. Octo doesn't.
Game that could have been good.
Yeah, had a lot of promises.
Such a perfect description of that game.
And Octopath Traveler 2, is that out? I would assume it's out. I don't really know.
I think it is out, and we just suck.
That was such a good idea. So like they've got some games and some quality titles under their belt.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm happy to visit an earlier title of theirs that isn't Tenchu, because I've played Tenchu. That was on the PlayStation 1. So it's good to see what they were doing on this console. You play as Gojiro, a samurai in search of his brother in America's Wild West. And it's not like... I thought it was going to be highly fictional, not America, just Western looking and stuff. But you're like in America in the 1800s. Like, just a samurai chilling in the middle of some cowboys.
But it is highly fictional.
Of course it's highly fictional. I just mean, I didn't think the official lore is he's in America. But
I think this meme is old, but someone shared it in Discord this week, and I thought it was super interesting, and it started to spark my creative juices. They were flowing.
Did it pique your juices?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a comment. I think it started on Tumblr, but
oh no,
it said this. Consider this: Victorian England, 1837 to 1901, American Old West, 1803 to 1912, the Meiji Restoration, 1868 to 1912, and the French privateering in the Gulf of Mexico ended circa 1830. Conclusion: an adventuring party consisting of a Victorian gentleman thief, an Old West gunslinger, a disgraced former samurai, and an elderly French pirate is actually 100% historically plausible. That sounds amazing.
That applies here.
That applies
I thought
here
they
because
were reaching pretty hard, and they are, but like
they are.
Still.
There was also discussion in the Discord this week if there was ever a samurai that would have come over to the Wild West, and there's no historical backing of that. It is plausible,
sure,
but probably the probability is low.
There were some ninjas there. I don't know about samurai, but for sure.
How do you know?
Yeah, what do you mean?
Because you didn't see any.
Yeah, you're not allowed. You're not allowed anymore. A Tarantino movie about a samurai coming to the Wild West would be sick.
Yes,
I love the genre. It's not a new thing. They didn't create it. We talk about it like it's a little bit novel, but the whole sort of like contrasting of the like American West mythos of the gunslinger hero versus the Eastern mythos of like a samurai warrior is like, it's been done, but I like it, and I like when it's done well, and so I was excited about kind of having those worlds collide this week.
Yeah, I'll just say this was potentially the most unexpected game you could have said last week, Dustin, when you were pulling the game. I was just kind of stunned. And also, we need more Western games. Red Dead did it best, right? But like, I can't name any more. Sunset Riders.
We had Sunset Riders. I was about to yell at you for not remembering.
Should we play that on couch co-op?
Not
we
again.
should.
Not again.
Not again. Didn't we beat it? Nolan,
we did.
Am I correct that you have a fondness for Western movies and that kind of trope?
Probably my second favorite film genre.
Wow.
I love them.
And
I really love Clint Eastwood era movies.
Okay, so that... there's got to be better words for it, but like that cheesy, over the top, like I don't know all the words to describe it. I don't watch them, but I know the trope. And not only is that in those Western movies, but it is also in this game, like that kind of like over the top trope.
They embrace it. It's over the top. It feels at home. Like whoever was behind the like writing and kind of tone of the game was spot on with it. So. I mentioned you play as Gojiro, and you are a samurai, you have a sword, and you're fighting cowboys that shoot at you. Like hack and slash style kind of game.
Brawler with a sword.
Yeah.
Gameplay.
Not only is the genre different than what I'm used to, the setup of this game and the structure of the gameplay is different than what I expected. So you've got 14 standalone stages. And they all play similarly, though you do have some variety in the level design. The first stage is, I believe, Cactus Gulch, and it's your very stereotypical, middle of town.
Saloon.
You've got the saloon to the side. You've got a little wagon here, and
you generic outdoor Western scene.
Generic outdoor. You walk into town, and these racist cowboys start saying, get back to where you came from.
Yeah.
And leads into a fight. Your second stage is inside interior saloon, but you're still doing the same thing that you were doing outside. You are moving around this relatively confined stage, and you are slashing down all of your enemies until you've eliminated a certain one. We'll talk about that, and ended the stage. And then there's a point screen that comes up to tell you how many points you got on that stage.
See, this is why I mentioned arcade earlier, because the setup there reminds me of an arcade game where it's confined. You have waves and waves of just lackeys coming at you, and you're mashing, and you get the results screen, and it's set up in stages instead of like not open world, but like less story driven. Yeah. So that's why I mentioned that.
Dustin, you called it a fight. This is not much of a fight. You learn very quickly that in this universe, the sword is wildly more powerful than guns, which is fine if that's the way you want to take a game, though it's not very realistic. And it's less of a fight.
Sorry, we're not realistic in these video games that we're playing.
It's less of a fight and more of this samurai just like massacring his way through a small western town, because you do crazy amounts of damage. You are crazy hard to hit, and you're just like decapitating and spraying blood everywhere. And this is a violent, crazy, frantic hack and slash game. Yeah.
You brought a katana to a gunfight?
Yeah, all of that sounds realistic to me. So,
Stop.
Like, you are. It is unique in that you have a melee weapon facing ranged weapons for the most part.
Yeah.
And that's super interesting because most games don't, right? It's either melee on melee or it's ranged on ranged, but the melee range dichotomy there is super unique, and I feel like they did it relatively well. You've got tons of spawning enemies that are around, and they're firing at you. They always make an audio cue before they shoot, so that even if you're not focused on them, you can know that I need to hit the dodge button, or I need to hit you can also like hit their bullets back at them. That is also realistic. And so you're just doing this dance around, and each stage is pretty quick. Like on my playthrough, each stage I was completing in 3 to 5 minutes, like really quick. And in between each stage, you've got this little cutscene, and it's kind of storybook little drama that's unfolding, so that you get a little bit of context of why you're going to this next stage, or what you're getting wrapped up in because of your samurai code, that you've got to live up to.
I think they did the combat well with having the melee versus the range, but I never got over the awkwardness of being shot at and not being able to like shoot back.
Yeah.
Because I'm just trained that way in other games to have something to match what they're doing, like ranged on range, like you said. And so like the whole gameplay premise is gap closing, which is what you would do in a fighting game, but like you have a dodge button where he just does the most ridiculous spin animation through bullets. And so you just do that all the way over to them and then cut them in half. It works. It's just weird.
Nolan says that like there's no options whatsoever.
There are no options.
There are
whatsoever.
a few options. You can throw things, and so you do have a little bit of a ranged attack if you need it. And you can also choose one of your sword options that instead of just blocking bullets, will deflect them back at enemies, which I think is an interesting thing to talk about. Not only because that mechanic's interesting, but because you do have the option of not playing in sort of one specific style, but in a whole bunch of different styles as you unlock different weapons for your character to use.
And another thing I did not expect when I played the game was an equipment screen.
Yeah.
Like, in between stages, where you can use experience to level up your characters, like life and MP. Don't call it MP. And power and defense. You can also alternate between different stat-based weapons, put on stat-based accessories, and even set custom rules like complete within 3 minutes for more experience, or no grabbing. or whatever.
Why are you hung up on the fact that they call it MP? That's what it's called. You've got HP and you've got MP.
Yeah, but he's not casting anything. Not
He
casting.
most certainly is.
No, he's not.
Not in the way that
He's-
MP is
he's
traditionally used.
Activating his ultimate, which
Are
is
you being-
100% magic.
Are you being a pedant? Are you being? Are you
Say
being
Whoa.
pedantic? Are you?
I'm not. No,
Okay.
just the convention is you got HP and MP, and there's no reason for them not to do that.
I
That's
would
what
call
people
it
know.
SP.
Thank you. Special points.
Samurai points.
Yep,
You're
samurai
also
points. So,
The God mode thing is kind of sick, though.
okay, what like your limit break?
Yeah, yeah.
Or
Your limit break.
in Devil May Cry, because this game kind of reminds me
Oh,
of Devil May Cry.
true,
Some.
yeah.
Don't you? In most of these games, you have some kind of limit break, some kind of I don't
Yeah,
remember
Devil
what
May
all they call
Cry.
it, but where you become even in Doom, you have this like it's Berserk mode, something where like one hit kills on everything for a
Yeah.
limited amount of time, and that's what you have here. Is that what God mode is? Right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so in the first play, we should probably talk about this at some point. But in the first play, I was like playing. I didn't know about the different swords, so I was like, "Why is I'm not deflecting?" They said I could deflect, and then I get to God mode, and yeah, one hit kill things, but in the most gruesome, bloody, mature, not safe for children, not safe for work way. Like up there when I think of other games that I've played that have blood in them. It's like full on anime blood spray when you cut them.
And the sound.
and the sound. The sound's actually kind of hard, like dark.
Yeah, Nolan, you said you wanted Quentin Tarantino, but you kind of got it
That-
here
yeah,
this week.
exactly.
There's a reason that's why you thought of that.
Honestly,
because
I'm probably inspired by him because it
Yep.
was that level of ridiculousness. But I'm not upset about it. It works. I was just like, whoa.
Important question. Which of you played from first-person perspective this week?
I was gonna make that
How did
joke.
you even get there, Nolan?
Dude, it's assigned to left trigger. Like randomly, it's just a trigger button, and so you'll hit it accidentally if you're not careful. I did
That's
many
the
times.
worst.
It is the worst. It should be right stick or something, but
It
I
shouldn't be in the game.
well,
I got there because for the same reason Nolan did. I forgot which button my ultra was because I'd save it up and not use it often. And so every time I wanted to super, I'd instead accidentally jump to first-person mode
worst.
first.
this game
worst.
100% does not need first person mode.
Correct.
They threw it in there because all games were doing it at the time, probably. It is funny though if you want to check it out to go into it and try to like dodge. Well, do dodge and then attack. It just looks so bad. It's just like hands.
One
in
of
a sword.
one of the mechanics that was most fun to me, and it seemed like it was most fun to you in your first play, Nolan, is the dodge dance.
Best.
Love
it.
It is the primary way that you're going to be avoiding taking damage, and it is the most fun because you can't just run across the stage because you're going to get shot. So you're tapping R1 as bullets are flying in, and you still got that forward momentum, but you're doing this really beautiful spin
dance on
around,
'em.
slide, dance.
I
Yeah,
wanted to say that every time I was doing it. It's so satisfying.
It looks kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it looks
sort of looks
really
like your
stupid.
character is glitching.
It's awesome.
Like he's just like moving in a weird circle, and then you just do that consistently
Yeah, it's
the
great.
entire game over and over again.
absolutely great.
Dustin, that Devil May Cry drop just kind of blew me away because I hadn't
Yeah.
thought of that, but totally because it is a hack and slash game where it shows you your hit count when you're like attacking things, at
Yeah.
least stronger enemies that don't die immediately. And so it's like chaining up those hits, and Devil May Cry does this better overall, I think, but totally that kind of style. And yeah, just
You even have words that are popping up on the screen like dodged and great and things like that that's trying to encourage you along
and
the way,
howdy,
which you
howdy
have in
partner.
some of these-
I'm just kidding.
But that was the most fun because if you get it down right, like you're a freaking samurai. You can dodge all of the incoming bullets, all of the incoming throwing knives just to get up close to your opponent, and then decapitate them, slash them in half, whatever you need to do to take them out. It's realistic.
It's certainly not realistic. It is satisfying, though. I did find that at first I was a little confused because so much is going on. There's a lot of people. They're spawning fast
Got a
and
mini map.
in sort of random spots. Yeah, but it gave you this really nice little mini map that shows where the enemies are and also shows which ones are actively shooting at you.
Yeah.
And this really helped me be less overwhelmed by sort of the chaotic nature of this game. This game's crazy chaotic. It's going to be constant motion, doing the same thing over and over again, just like killing hordes of people. But it could have easily been more confusing or overwhelming if they didn't give you a couple of tools like that. And Nolan already mentioned the animation and the sound so that you know sort of when and who's firing at you. I did find a few things were harder to dodge. I didn't always notice when like dynamite was thrown and was sitting next to me. It looked too similar to the food. Every once in a while, I'd be like, "Oh,
try
I
to
gotta
pick it
go.
up?
I gotta go heal myself
The
up over
chicken
here,"
leg?
and then get blown up because I thought it was a chicken and it wasn't.
Did you know with Dustin? That's a new segment we do here on the show. Did you know
Okay.
with Dustin? Need a little
okay.
theme song. That it is not. You might assume coming into a game like this that you defeat enough enemies and that concludes the stage. That is not the case with this game.
Correct.
I believe at a certain point, there is a particular enemy on each stage that when you kill that enemy, then it moves to the next cutscene. So like you finished that stage. And so some stages, if you know where that enemy is, you can end that stage very quickly. And they don't look different than all the other enemies for the most part.
Okay, that's not told to the player. That's just kind of something they put
Correct.
in
No.
there. And like the fact that it's not a boss or a very different looking character is weird. That feels
is
hacky.
weird.
That feels like a hacky way to progress to the next stage.
Yeah, I think part of it, since it is point-based and experience-based leveling system, that part of it is so that you can play these levels, and if you know what you're doing, you can keep it going as long as you want to try to rack up those points. But also, it can work against you because if you are playing it for the first time, you can end those stages relatively quickly without knowing why or what you did.
Speedrun strats.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
sure it's but yeah, that feels weird to me. And
Now,
yeah,
there are some bosses in this game. I think you face your first boss on level 3, and they have more HP than everybody else. They do have a different moveset, but it really is just slash your way through. And if you've got God mode saved up, which I just always saved it up for the boss, it really is just a few quick seconds of mayhem.
yeah, because it's so high damaging, and you, like you said, you can farm it up because it's infinitely spawning guys. Like in that first stage, even in the first play, I was like, why they spawn really fast and like on top of you, and I was like, what the heck? So it's easy to farm that, and then you just make quick work of them. I didn't play the later stages, so I don't know if the bosses get harder, but they should, because the early game felt like God mode's cool and you want to feel strong, but it felt like it trivialized the entire experience for me.
You're already so strong that unless you're doing something wildly wrong or just don't handle the bosses well, because the bosses are harder. You can certainly save up God mode and other things to help handle them, but like they're not going to be a guaranteed win moment, at least not as you go later. But like you're always going to feel like a boss. These games that are just like mow down hordes of enemies and be the biggest, baddest, that's the point. They're just like, I don't know, weird buffets for your ego. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like you're allowed to like these kinds of games if that's your thing. But that is what they are.
Gamers.
Yeah, and so like I'm with you, Nolan. The God mode feels super strong, but it almost feels unnecessary here because you're just like already so strong. Like what? I need to be even stronger? Okay.
I think part of what makes it difficult is switching between weapons, because I don't know if you noticed, but weapons upgrade in levels, and so they'll get stronger. But if you switch fighting styles or weapons, then it goes back down to level 1, and so you're not doing near as much damage, which I don't love that, because then it just kind of encouraged you to stick with one weapon the entire time.
Yeah. It almost made it where you wanted to use one weapon like per playthrough.
Yeah.
Which again gives you some replayability, and you do have options, you know.
And it's not a long game. So
No, it's not long at all. There's, you have the option of like, I'm going to go into a level with lots and lots of enemy gunfire. Like, I'm going to take this different sword that handles that better, or I'm going to go into a level that like I really need mobility. Let me take that build. But generally, I found myself also using the weapons that I'd already leveled up for that same reason, and so that I agree, mixed bag there.
Aged.
The jank factor is present here, and I think you know what I mean. It's that PS2 era sort of movement and animations. It's nostalgic, but it can feel a bit stiff today. And the camera's also a factor in that too.
Yeah.
The camera's a factor, especially if you're trying to get to any enemies that make you like jump up somewhere to get to them. The jump is a total afterthought here. Like, you can do a jump attack and there's places you'll use it, but most of the time you're going to be moving up and down stairs and finding ways of progressing on your vertical, like by just moving side to side.
The camera was where I felt it. So I love the. I don't know if I love. I can work within the PS2 jank for sure because
same.
that was my era.
Yeah.
But the camera here, they're still trying to figure that out, and the lock-on system wasn't key. The camera wouldn't see through things, so if it got stuck behind something, like especially in the interior, it would stay stuck there, or it would like slowly move around. You can't see anything, and I'll tether that to the lock-on, the auto lock-on, which is great at times because you're not just swinging in midair, but at times when you want to be hitting a particular enemy, you could be just locked onto a totally different enemy and not be able to do much about it. So yeah, there's definitely some PS2 jank here.
It's not a playable jank. It's not like it controls just fine. It's pretty smooth. It's quick. It's quick gameplay too, which I appreciate. But
yeah, it's a very playable game. It's easy to pick up and just like jump in and kind of know what you're doing.
I thought the cutscenes in particular were charming and fun. They're over the top cheesy. And the voiceover, I thought the voiceovers were good. Hear me out. I think that they are, and I'll say this, I think they're good because that's what you get from the Western movies. Like, you don't get like the world's best acting always. You don't get Emmy Award or Oscar Award or YouTube award. You don't get any of the award-winning performances necessarily, but you get it with heart and flavor, and you got that here from everybody, and I thought it was charming.
I agree, and I think the cutscenes too, like, were pretty nice. I don't remember which stage it was, but it's like following Gojiro, the camera is, and he's walking up to this compound, and it's like it slowly pans out, and there's like a sniper like following him.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. Like that's a little more than I expected out of the game, especially after playing the first stage and being like, oh, this is just a weird arcade game.
I'll agree and disagree. I did like the cutscenes and how they kind of just threw some story in there, and even the little like chapter things were fine to kind of set up what you were going to do. This isn't a game you're playing for story, so it was nice to have that just sort of as icing. Voice lines were okay for some of that cutscene kind of stuff, but I hated the voice lines that were happening as action in the game because you just got them over and over and over again.
Yeah, there are like 3.
And a lot of them. Yeah, and so the same with sound effects, the same with voice lines, the same with the buttons that you're hitting, the same with the look of the enemies. There would be times you would look up and a group of enemies would have spawned, and it'd be like 7 guys, and they all are the exact same visual asset, and then they all move with the exact same like motion as like animation as well, and it looked more Matrixy than it looked Western.
Totally agree.
It's because these assets were reused, and that was really obnoxious for me.
I am not saying for the PS2 in 2005 that you need to have every character have a unique look, but at least have a few, because it was Matrix. That's exactly what it was. So you're really just fighting one cowboy 1,000 times in this game.
Yep. Even the way they randomly spawn in, it does. Yeah. It feels very like Neo in the Matrix, weirdly enough, which is, I would never have thought to equate it to that. The visuals also for me were a little drab. I know they're going Western, and so it's fine to be sort of brown and muted and ugly, and I think they wanted this sort of realism to make the sort of weird, like, hyper fantasy of slaying all these people feel viable or something. I don't know. But it makes for a kind of drab-looking game visually.
See, I disagree. I like it. I think it because they've got the dust rolling in too. Like it's very the presentation's actually kind of a more immersive aspect of the game with considering what's going on.
It looks Western.
Yeah.
Right. The West is just boring. Everything's brown and brown.
See, that's just
So,
But I think they balanced that with, like, in the saloon. I really liked that stage. There's more colors there because you're inside. It's two levels, and there's a stage. There's a lot of tables. There's beer bottles and glasses all over. Like it. Yeah. I don't know. I thought that visually it worked. Some of it's drab, but that's also the wild, wild west, Kenny. You wouldn't do well there.
it's rough out there, man. But Gojiro's animations were, I thought, great. I mean, besides the spin, besides the dodge, that one's
I'm all
ludicrous.
about the spin.
I like it. I love it. I just think it looks stupid. Which
add 4 or 5 variations
but-
of it so that you're just not doing this the whole time.
Yeah.
But like,
You looked like me in 3rd grade when I thought getting dizzy was the coolest thing you could do, and I, would spin around in my living room. Like, it's
the
dumb.
way your synapses connect always are going to amaze me. There is a 2-player mode, and I thought this would have been interesting because you play together, and the second player plays as Ralph the gunman, who is equipped with a gun. So second player is doing ranged attacks, can brawl up close, but is playing as a ranged fighter while Gojiro is running around slicing people with his sword.
I'm sure that's great.
I like the thematic take there. No one's going to want to be him. This is going to be worse than having to play Luigi. Like, if you and your friends are playing, everybody's going to want the sword. Nobody's going to want to run around shooting the dinky
sword too,
6-shooter.
I think.
Well, don't worry. No one is playing 2-player Samurai Western today. Okay, let's talk about the soundtrack. Nolan, it impressed you at least at first in the first play because it's Western with a little bit of Eastern flair.
Maybe. Yeah, that continued throughout the game. For me, I thought it was, spot on. Like, I'm glad that they went that route versus trying to do like, rock, like PlayStation 2 era heavy rock guitar, like dun dun, like action. They put that in every game, and it worked sometimes, but like here it would feel so stupid. So I'm down.
I generally like the music. Felt a little bit predictable, a little bit hokey and cliche at times.
Hokey?
But it matches the game,
Hokey?
sets the mood. Like it worked. A little bit repetitive for me too. So like it was good, but it wasn't like anything to write home about in my mind.
I thought it was good, but not as good as Wild Arms. We haven't played it. It's another Western themed. We've got 1 or 2 of the songs on some of our playlists.
I've heard
because
of it.
it's also PlayStation JRPG. I think it's so interesting. So if you want a physical copy of Samurai Western for your PlayStation 2, it's going to be $108 used or loose. That's just the CD, or $278 new. It's expensive.
Yep,
That is.
This is a pricey game.
Final thoughts.
At the end of each and every one of our episodes, we determine whether or not the game gets our vote for New Game Plus status, which is our general thumbs up or thumbs down. The vote does require 2/3 of the vote to swing one way or the other. Kenny? Commence?
Yeah. Commencing. This one's tricky for me. I wanted to really dislike it. Swords don't beat guns. Spinning in a circle a million times won't actually help you to dodge anything. It'll just make you dizzy, which will make you worse at fighting. I don't care what kind of training you have. Samurai aren't supposed to be supernatural. You are not a Jedi wielding the Force. And I want to hate this game for philosophical reasons. But the game is kind of fun. At least when you start playing. ends up for me being a little bit too shallow and repetitive. It tries to give you good reasons to keep playing, but I'm not sure they're worth it. I have no doubt that there are some people that will adore this game, and there is some like fun to be had. But for me, it was, I don't know, too much pomp and not enough circumstance. This is like, it's fantasy hack and slash. It's fun for a moment, but it doesn't have the chops in other areas to keep me playing. And so, no New Game Plus.
Kenny, you do know that you aren't actually like Montezuma fighting all these other countries to conquer civilization when you play those games, right? It's not realistic, that game.
Fantasy is hard for Kenny. He likes to.
I was fine suspending disbelief and had fun with it. I'm telling you, that's not the part that stuck with me. It's the fact that the fun wasn't, like, it didn't go anywhere. I hit 2 buttons over and over and over again, and it was the same 2 enemies over and over and over again. And I was I killed everything.
You not thinking it's not realistic
You're saying
enough.
swords don't beat guns.
I'm saying I didn't want to like it for those reasons, but then I did anyways. Like, it was fun doing that stuff, but for like 4 seconds.
You just want to play Wall Street Kid, where it's as realistic as possible, and buy some stocks. Okay, we'll let you do that. Nolan?
I really wanted to love this game, actually, because I love Westerns, and the combat really appeals to me. Like, there are some fighting game elements here that I reminded me. We didn't talk about the meat shield thing. You can pick up guys and they'll shoot their friends. Like that kind of stuff. That outlandish stuff is just great. And the blood, it's whatever. That doesn't bother me too bad. The violence of it, but I lost interest kind of quickly, and it might be some of the things Kenny was saying. Like, at first, I was like all aboard the train to the Wild West, and then by stage 3, I'm like, I feel a lack of diversity in what I'm doing and the enemies I'm fighting, and it ends up feeling quite empty overall. And I think there was some opportunity there, and the fact that they went with the simple hack and slash gameplay is fun for a bit, and that's it. And I actually don't give this New Game Plus, sadly.
Yeah, interesting and sad, because I feel like this done well is right up your alley.
Yeah.
Yep.
Me too.
But not yours, Kenny. Nolan's.
No, Nolan's. I'm agreeing with you.
Okay, so we are all landing in the same place at the end. Certainly not at the beginning, because when I play video games, I don't need realism. Here's what I have to say. I loved the aesthetic. I even like the concept, like the boys. I simply got bored too quickly.
Wow.
By stage 3, the exact same place, I'm like, I've done this. I've done this, and
right.
Then that's all that happens. There's not enough evolution of gameplay for me. If there were new abilities being gained, maybe. If there was, there's a few things, smallish tweaks that I feel like could be made to this game, and it would be an elite title, like a standout on the system.
Real-time swapping between your different swords with even wilder movesets, so you had to be making decisions about strategy as you go. Boom.
Does it every time. He won't do it to you, Nolan, but he'll talk during my segment every
I don't give him
I'm agreeing with things you say and adding flavor and salt. It's an honor.
It's an honor.
An
You're
honor.
not invited
you
to
an
do
honor.
it.
So
it's an honor for me.
No, it is.
It's an honor for
honor
me
for
to
you.
have you.
The fact that I
speak on my
don't
behalf.
add commentary to Nolan's, he should be offended by.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll stay
we all
offended.
land in the same place. Like,
Yeah.
oh man, they're never going to. But if they were to remake this game with some of those evolution ideas, man, this would be fun. I love the concept. There's some good things here, but just got bored way too quickly. So I also do not give it my vote for New Game Plus status, which this might be one of the better games that
Same.
hasn't gotten New Game Plus status.
Same.
Agreed.
I agree.
I figured this one would be pretty contentious
frustrating.
from us.
But deservedly so, right? Like, frustrating
Yeah.
because we can all see there's some merit here,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
it just doesn't hold up. So
tons of
man,
potential.
Samurai Western is not New Game Plus certified. But what did you think? We had 15% on our YouTube poll say yes, the game is worth playing today. 5% said no, go play something else. And of course, an 80% have never played it before.
There's your price tag. Rare
Never
game.
heard of this game before.
Yeah, rare game.
Many of you wrote in, played along with us this week, sent in your commentary on the Retro Game of the Week. We'll include some of those thoughts now. Joey said, it's been a while since I've written or played a Game of the Week, but I'm very glad that I played this one. The game didn't feel too modern, that it didn't feel like a retro game, but at the same time, gave so much nostalgia of what I remember of a good button masher from the PS2. At the same time, the game offered quite a bit of strategic play with the parry system, as well as countering all the enemies that are coming after you on each stage. My only gripe with the game is that the story seemed pretty basic, putting a samurai in a cowboy setting. Despite all that, I appreciated the detail of being able to pick things up and use them as a shield, break down buildings around you, and the use of special abilities that your character can use when the bar is full. Despite a dull story, I appreciated ultimately that the character grew in his abilities as the game went on, which is what kept me engaged.
Breakable environments is always nice. We didn't
Yeah, that's
mention
cool.
that, but it was totally here. And it was pretty cool.
Although some was breakable and others that needed to be weren't. So like
Tables.
when a guy was on top of like a little wagon, you couldn't get up to him really.
Right.
So like it was kind of frustrating. But Garlisle said there's a couple things this game does well. The dodge canceling generally feels smooth and responsive, which is important. Also, the game's willing to lean into its surprisingly parallel genres quite well to give it a unique identity amidst its cliches. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite land gracefully. The combat's focus on just one button limits it heavily, and bosses
One
feel
button, that's
spongy
right.
if you didn't grind. The real hard part for me is just the way enemies constantly just pop into existence around you and will attack even if your camera never saw them, leading to a lot of cheap shots and getting swarmed. It's an okay beat 'em up, but I've played enough better games to be unimpressed.
One button's a harsh way to put it, but it's true.
Yeah,
It's
it's
true.
That's weird.
It's just press square. I mean, I guess
Needed
you
more
gotta dodge,
combos, needed more fighting game stuff in there. Would have helped.
Metastrophe said, yippee-ki-yay. After initial disappointment because the description for a moment had me thinking this was the game I've been submitting to the Patreon poll since I joined, blood will tell, by the way, I was sold the moment I heard the title. Samurai and Western are two of my favorite genres, so a game literally called Samurai Western sounded perfect. Even though I never played this title, everything from the graphics to the cheesy acting and dialogue had a very nostalgic feel. The combat is super fun, and I love sending bullets back at my opponent. Definitely one I plan to play to the end. New Game Plus for me.
Nah.
And it's why I said I think this will work for some people.
But I think they said they didn't beat it. I think they'll put it down.
It will wane.
I think it'll wane.
Finally, Clint,
John Wayne.
who, as of just a few minutes ago at the time of this recording, completed the game,
Wow. Impressive.
Bravo.
said, I've played along with NGP every week for just over 3 years. And the variety of titles we've gotten the pleasure of playing is nothing short of all-encompassing. Some weeks we get landmarks like Super Metroid or Super Mario Bros. And others we get deep cuts like Gargoyle's Quest 2 or Okage. And every so often we get something so insanely out of left field that only NGP and the Randomizer could come up with it. And that's Samurai Western. From the opening cinematic, I knew I was going to fall in love with this game. It's got the cheesy acting of games like Resident Evil 4 with the screenplay of a Coen Brothers or Quentin Tarantino film.
Yeah, there you go.
The story is bonkers, Kiryu is absurd, and I have rarely been so engrossed in a game I didn't even know existed. This is a top 3 discovery for me from my time in the NGP community. I know for a fact that Nolan is with me on all of this too. Best NGP game of 2023.
Wow. I love that for Clint, actually. And I
do
can
too.
see it. I can
Yeah.
see
Yep.
it. I genuinely can. I'm sorry, Clint. I really am sorry.
That's why it's
Because
so frustrating.
it is frustrating. And you were right. Watching that first play, you were right. And then the game told me I wasn't right.
And then the game was wrong, right? Like
I get it, though. I'm so glad you finished it and enjoyed it. Yeah. I just couldn't.
All right. Thank you for sending in your thoughts. You can do that each and every week. Send in your thoughts on the game that we're playing to ngppodcast@gmail.com or hop into our commentary channel on Discord. Leave your thoughts there. We'd love to include them as a part of our episode next week. But for now, we're going to set aside Samurai Western, and we're going to randomly select from our Retro Master list and find out what game we are playing for the next 7 days. Randomizing now. We're playing a game that came out in 2004 for my favorite handheld console that I never owned of all time.
Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
So we know it's going to get New Game Plus status because there's no bad GBA game.
We'll see.
This is super interesting. That's why it took me just a moment before we resumed recording, because it's one game that is directly connected to another. In fact, they share a Wikipedia page. Some would say kind of like Pokemon Red and Blue.
Yeah, sure. Got
Different, but are they? So this game this is super interesting. It's the 10th installment. Sorry. One of them is the 10th installment in its series, and the other, the one that we're playing, is the 8th installment in its series. It's a crossover.
So confused.
Yeah, it's a crossover set after the events of their respective games for their platform. The game that we're playing for the next 7 days is my prayer, my shout to the heaven that this is a revival of a dude done wrong. We are going to give another chance to Spyro the Dragon in the game Spyro Orange, the Cortex Conspiracy.
Wait.
Crash crossover?
It is a Crash crossover.
All
Crash
right.
Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon. I hope they're in the same games together, because here's the idea. Here's the thing. Crash has his game, Crash Purple, and Spyro has his game, Spyro Orange. And that's the one we're playing, Spyro Orange.
A bizarre week to talk about. Okay.
Interesting. Yeah.
I swear to the Dragon
Everybody
Gods,
thinks that
if
I hate
you
Spyro.
two, y'all do,
I
because y'all didn't
don't.
give Spyro your vote for New Game Plus status.
I don't
Listen,
hate
no
Spyro.
one hates Spyro, the character.
I will bring a sword to a gunfight next week if
I'll
y'all
win
are mean to
IRL
Spyro.
with a gun.
Find a copy of this great GBA title with a great lead character and play Spyro Orange with us for the next 7 days.
In preparation for Couch Co-op Week and the free trial of Patreon and the summer pool party and everything that's going on with us, we want you to be in Discord. That's where a lot of those conversations happen. That's where our community is. So you can go to discord.gg/newgameplus.
We want to say thank you to those of you who support us on patreon.com. We couldn't do cool things like bringing you bonus content, bringing you couch co-ops, playing some of the games that we do, continuing to make the weekly retro gaming entertainment that we give to you high quality without your support. So thank you first to our directors level supporters who go truly above and beyond: Bro Jim, Daniel, Garlisle, and Super Hypered. You guys are a plus S tier, even, if you will. And to our large group of producers who are going to join us for some fun pool party action this summer. We appreciate you too, including Adam, Alex, Marlene, Antonin, Ben, Big Dude, Brunt, DH Bowser, Ellis, Fishy, Francesca, Gimbin, J. Robert, Jared, Joey, Jordan, Justin, Clid, Knickknack, Corey, Lawai, Levi, Maxima, Pedro, Sage, and Shauna, Subsonic Demon, Tazelhoff, Thomas, Unbedavable, and Zion. You guys are great.
You can follow us on our social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube. All of those links are in our show notes. Our Patreon is there as well. It's patreon.com. You can listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice. Make sure you subscribe so that you are the first to get new NGP episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a kind rating and review. Our video episode was edited by our friend Dylan. Our audio episode was edited and produced by our friend Dan Willett. Join us next week as we play Spyro Orange. The Cortex Conspiracy was released as Spyro Fusion. If you have it, you can play it along with us.
Confusing.
Until then, I'm still
I'm still spinning around and around.
This town ain't big enough for the two of us.
Both of us.
Two of us.
And this has been New Game Plus.